Hi everybody, hope you're having a good day today. This is going to be our first one in the series of videos that we're going to title The First Time I Met blank. And our first subject will be Tom Mann Jr., the first time I met Tom Mann Jr. So if you watched the video Birth of Solar Bat, you will know that Tom Mann Jr. was very instrumental in that. He was the first of the national pros that I met. My cousin and I, who fish together a lot, his name's Dan Pell, and I had been watching, this is probably back maybe in 91 or 92. I always watched the Bassmaster show on TV at that time. I think it was on ESPN. And they did a half-hour show on with Bob Cobb, I believe it was, Fishing with Tom Mann Jr. And they talked during the show about how Tom was considered by most everyone to be one of the leading authorities, if not the leading authority in the United States on spotted bass, especially on Lake Lanier, which is, I don't know, maybe probably one of the best spotted bass fisheries in the United States. At the end of the show, it mentioned that Tom had a guide service there on Lake Lanier, and that he was taking bookings for guide trips on the off season when he wasn't tournament fishing. So I had the phone number for Tom, and I talked to my cousin Dan about it. I said, we ought to go down there and fish with Tom. And he agreed. And so I sort of thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to call him to see if we can get a trip scheduled. So I did, and we talked to him and got the trip scheduled. Lake Lanier has an area there called, I believe it's just called the Lake Lanier Islands. Had a nice hotel on the island, a lot of nice places to eat, and was pretty close to Buford, Georgia, where Tom and his wife Peggy lived. So my cousin and I booked a room on the Lake Lanier Islands and had the trip booked with Tom, and we drove down there and got there the day before and checked in with him and checked into the hotel, checked in with him, and he said he would just meet us there at the islands, pick us up there. And he did. He was there very promptly. And I got to tell you, I mean, his boat was spotless. All of his equipment was immaculate and ready to go. Of course, Dan and I took our own equipment. I always do that when I'm fishing with a guide. Most all guides have got equipment for you to use, but I always feel more comfortable, more relaxed fishing my own equipment. And that was fine with him. We put our rods and reels in and some lures and so forth. Of course, he had lures that we could use, and he had told us ahead of time what to bring with us, what we'd be fishing with. And we fished with him actually for 2 days, and just could not have had a better experience. Very professional, very knowledgeable, caught a lot of fish, caught some spots all the way up to, I believe, 4.5 pounds. I didn't even, being from Indiana, I had caught some spotted bass on the river, but you know, they were all 9, 10, 11 inches long. I didn't even know spotted bass got that big, but you could tell that Tom was very enthusiastic about spotted bass fishing, very knowledgeable, loved the species, and just had all kinds of stories to tell and experiences to talk about, so forth and so on. And it was just a wonderful experience. And that was my first encounter with Tom Mann Jr., and it could not have been a better encounter. I mean, he was really impressive. Subsequently, went back down there and fished with him again. Went to the islands there, took our families with us this time, and had a wonderful experience. And then shortly thereafter, another year or so, my wife and I went down and went out fishing with him. And just had an unbelievable experience every time we went. Tom is so accurate with his casting, so precise, and he knew Lake Lanier like his backyard. I mean, he would tell you cast right over there and get ready, and you'd cast right over there and you'd get a bite. Just a great guy. We became good friends, and you couldn't ask for a nicer guy than Tom Mann Jr., and you couldn't ask to fish with a better fisherman than Tom Mann Jr. Tom won some BASS tournaments, was in contention to win some of the Forest Wood Cups, and I tell you, one of the things that impressed me about him, and I was down there watching him. I was down there during a BASS tournament on Lake Lanier, and we spent a lot of time with him. And the first day of the BASS tournament, he did not do very well. And I told him after the weigh-in, I said, Tom, I said, I'll ride with you over to where you launched your boat, and I'll back your truck in with you. And he said, okay. So we got in the boat. And he was pretty discouraged. He said, you know, I made a lot of mistakes today. I just know this lake so well, and I just kind of let it get to me. I just kind of was trying too hard, tried to fish too many spots, or kind of rushed my fishing and so forth. And you could tell that he was kind of kicking himself about everything. And what impressed me so much was I backed that trailer in the water. He put that boat on the trailer, he cinched it down, and it was like today never happened. He forgot about it. He put it all behind him, and we had a nice meal that night, never brought up anything about that day's fishing, and went out the next couple days and just smoked him, and came back from where I don't remember what position he was in at the end of the first day, but he came back the next 2 days, and I think he got a top 5 finish, I know, and maybe was second or third. But what impressed me so much was, and what insight I got into what makes an excellent pro, was the fact that he had a bad day, but as soon as that boat was on the trailer and he was headed home, he totally forgot that day, put it out of his mind, and that's what enabled him to come storming back the next 2 days. And that was very impressive. That was my early experiences with Tom Mann Jr. Great guy. He's now down on Okeechobee. He lives down there in a condominium at Roland Martin's Marina, and he's guiding on Okeechobee. So any of you people out there, if you want to make a trip to Okeechobee and go out and catch some big bass, I'm sure he knows Okeechobee now like he knew Lanier then, and I can guarantee you, you'll have a fun day on the water. So that was my initial experiences with Tom Mann Jr. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you will, hit the subscribe button at the bottom, and also hit the bell icon so you'll get notices of when we're putting up a new video. And we will probably, we're probably not going to put up a video for a week or 10 days, and then we'll be back with another video, which will probably again be the first time I'm at, and I'll decide between now and then what fishermen we're going to talk about. If you got any suggestions, what you'd like to see videos on, just please email them to SolarBat. You can email them to Mandy Shepard at solarbat.com or Gary Nesty at solarbat.com, and we'll try to do whatever you'd like to see. But until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be making another one before too long. Thank you.